There were multiple effects on the Chinese military, I think, from the Taiwan Strait crisis in 95-96. One of these was the development of Chinese aircraft carriers. There have been articles in the Chinese press since the late 1970s advocating that the Chinese Navy acquire carriers. And in fact, in the mid-1980s, they acquired the ex-Australian carrier Melbourne to study it, and thereafter acquired 2 or 3 ex-Soviet carriers. They finally acquired the ship they've now named the Liaoning.
The Liaoning, the current Chinese carrier, is almost certainly only a training carrier. And the U.S. Department of Defense projects that the Chinese are building, or will soon have under construction, 3 much larger carriers. So we should be thinking of this something more like the old USS Lexington, a ship really designed to train China's cadre of carrier pilots. But even something like that does have a certain combat capability.
The civilian paramilitary forces of China are really the ones that China's neighbors interact with the most. So if you're on a reef and a shoal out in the South China Sea, or even today if you're out near the Senkaku Diaoyu Islands in the East China Sea, you're dealing with the Chinese Coast Guard. Or you're in South China Sea, you're dealing with fisheries patrols that now have a much more strict enforcement of fisheries rules made by China, not negotiated with neighbors, but made and emanating from China. And what's waiting over the horizon is a new aircraft carrier, right? Is our new jets that are coming online, and new ships that are becoming more and more high-tech and more demonstrably part of the presence in both the East China and South China Sea.
And when you look at the South China Sea and you look at where various countries have their airfields and the air forces, what you can very quickly see is that much of the South China Sea is far away from land. In particular, parts of the Spratlys are very far from places like Vietnam, are fairly far from Malaysia, and while they are fairly close to the Philippines really doesn't have an air force. So as a result, if you put even a small aircraft carrier there, what you can create is something like an air defense bubble. And one of the lessons the Chinese have taken away from the wars of the past 20 years, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, the conflict in the Balkans, Afghanistan, is air superiority is essential to winning modern wars. You may not win with it, but you will certainly lose without it. And so the ability to deploy an aircraft carrier, even if it's just to keep 3 or 4 modern fighter aircraft overhead, is a huge advantage when everybody else really can't put any aircraft where only 1 or 2 aircraft overhead for any sustained period of time.